When most people think of a Kurosawa film, their mind probably goes to Rashomon, Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, or any of his samurai-themed films. They don't usually think of Ikiru. Ikiru, which translates as To Live, is a 1952 drama film about a terminally ill bureaucrat from Tokyo trying to find meaning in life in his final days. The major themes covered in this film are learning how to live, governmental inefficiency, and decaying family life in Japan, all of which I think can be applied to today as well as outside of Japan. The film was inspired by Leo Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich, which tells the story of a high court judge, his sufferings, and death from terminal illness. This episode isn't focusing on Tolstoy, however, so let's take a look at the plot of Ikiru. Major spoilers coming up. The film begins with Kanji Watanabe, a bureaucrat who's worked for 30 years and is near retirement. His wife is dead and he lives with his son and daughter-in-law. At work, he's involved in constant governmental inaction. In one case, there's a group of mothers that want a cesspool cleared out and replaced with a playground, but they're endlessly redirected from department to department. Pretty good example of modern-day government, in my opinion. Soon after, a doctor tells Watanabe he has a stomach ulcer, something another patient told him means he has cancer with less than a year to live. He goes to tell his son about it, but overhears him and his daughter-in-law talking about his pension and how much money they'll receive when he retires. He decides that his son wouldn't care and doesn't mention it. While at a restaurant attempting to drown his sorrows in high-quality sake, something he says he's never bothered with, he meets a novelist who tries to show him the meaning of life at a nightclub. After some heavy drinking, Watanabe sings Gondola no Uta, a song about an older person warning younger people that youth is fleeting, and that they should seize the opportunities of youth while they're still young. Just one night in the club is enough, and he decides it's not the solution to his problems. The following day, Watanabe comes across Toyo, a young female subordinate from work. She's been looking for him to stamp her resignation letter. She tells him that she's quitting because she can't stand to work in a place so boring and life-draining. Watanabe is amazed and comforted by how much she loves life and tries to spend as much time as he can with her so he can learn how to do that himself. After he takes her out several times, she becomes suspicious of his intentions and tells him she doesn't want to see him anymore. He's able to convince her to join him one last time where he explains that he's dying and wants to know the secret to loving life. She tells him that she doesn't know. All she does is work and eat. But her new job at the toy factory makes her feel like she's friends with every baby in Japan. After hearing this, Watanabe realizes it's not too late for him to make a change, but isn't sure how to do it. Until he remembers the mothers that were lobbying for a new playground. To everyone's surprise, he returns to work after a long absence and begins to push for its construction, even against concerns that he's outside of his jurisdiction. Then, with nearly an hour left in the film, Watanabe dies. The rest of the film takes place at his wake, with his family and former co-workers after the opening of the playground. The deputy mayor doesn't stay for long, as he's not pleased with reporters outside giving Watanabe credit for building the playground. After all, he worked in public affairs, and they have no business building a park. That's the Parks Department's job. Once he leaves, everyone else tries to figure out how he could have transformed from a listless bureaucrat into a passionate advocate. As the sake goes down, they slowly piece together that he must have known he was sick. His son denies the possibility of that until a witness says he saw Watanabe on the swing in the park singing Gondola no Uta the night of his death. All of his former co-workers vow that they'll change to honor Watanabe's life. But once they're back at work, things are still the same. The typical mindless shuffle, just to stay busy. When I watched this film for the first time, I noticed a few things with the camera angles. When we first meet Watanabe, we're at eye level, even though he's almost literally buried in his work. Once he gets his diagnosis, he appears very dark, and we see several high shots as if we're looking down on him. Once he grows as a person, especially towards the end of the film in the flashbacks at the wake, he appears brighter and almost angelic. He's painted with some very nice low angles at this point as well to make him seem larger than life. In a flashback during the wake, he's seen walking down a very long hallway. As he struggles to walk, he pushes towards the end. I think the hallway was a symbol for his life. Even though he was close to the end and he knew it, he continued to push forward and complete what he set out to do. Also, when he learns that he can build the park during the scene with Toyo in the restaurant, there's people in there that are singing happy birthday. This symbolized that he was born again in that scene. The park itself represents Watanabe. He was born with it and he died with it. What better way to symbolize life than with a park, a place where children spend their time laughing and playing? Perhaps we should all try to create a little bit more joy in our own lives. Ikiru really stands out among Kurosawa's films, as it isn't about masculine issues. It's about death in its most realistic form. Not among the warriors of old, but among a man we can perhaps see within ourselves. Takashi Shimura, who played Watanabe and acted in 21 of 30 of Kurosawa's films, was also known for his masculine roles, and this movie was an extreme shift from what he was used to. People don't stop to look at life until it's over. They just do things to keep busy. That's what Ikiru is about. Finding meaning somewhere within our own lives, before it's too late. I've just recently turned 28, and I'm already realizing how fast time is starting to move. Perhaps some of it's due to the pandemic we've been going through, but the days just keep passing faster and faster. World-renowned movie critic Roger Ebert said that he would watch this movie every 5 years or so, and that it would move him in a different way each time. He also said, "The older I get, the less Watanabe seems like a pathetic old man, and the more he seems like every one of us." I've seen the movie a couple of times, and I don't think Watanabe is pathetic either. He seems really human. His reaction to his cancer seemed pretty realistic, and I'm sure most of us would react in a similar way if we were in his position. Ikiru has earned its spot as one of my favorite movies, and I'll be sure to revisit it every few years as Roger Ebert did. No one wants to look back at the end of their life and realize they've never done anything significant. Watanabe is lucky in one sense. He was given the chance to see that his life was ending before it even started, and he had the opportunity to change it. Life can be over at any second, and maybe a movie like Ikiru can teach us that we need to live each day like it could be our last. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe so you can catch me next time when I take a look at Kurosawa's Rashomon, a film where 4 people give a different recollection of a man's murder, and the first Japanese film to receive significant international reception.